Sex workers of Reddit, who was the grossest customer you've had? Dude offered me $500 to adopt a dog and have sex with it. I very firmly declined. I got to the man's house, and he wanted me to pour bleach on my titties. I literally just walked right out and never looked back. So there I am, laundry sauce on my titties. When I was 19, my 78-year-old landlord offered me $50 to have sex with him. This was not in 1903. I have two different guys that I'll never forget. The first was one that wanted my feet to be filthy dirty and stinky if possible. Then I had to smash one foot in his face and get him off with the other foot. The other guy wouldn't let me turn on any lights at all, and when I got undressed I touched him and found his one ball was the size of a pillow. It freaked me out so bad I told him I started my period and needed to leave pronto. There's many more, but these two guys always stand out. Hold up. What do you mean the size of a pillow? I was a cam girl, and it was a site where you take a private show and your client could turn on his webcam if he wants to. I had a guy lay down on his floor with his ass back propped up against the side of his bed so that he would be essentially upside down. All he wanted me to do was dirty talk while I watched him jack off and come onto his own face. He was probably just in Australia. From being a stripper, this guy smelled gross. Paid for 5 minutes in a private room. Everything goes well. The typical no touching private parts thing. He didn't want to pay for more time. So I was putting my clothes back on and he just hugged me really tight. Then kneeled and tried to lick my pussy. Was a stripper. The ones who tell you that you look like their daughter's friend, ECT. Are pretty gross. Foot fetish dudes would come in at the end of the night, and the sweatier your feet were the better. Most girls love them though because they give amazing foot rubs and pay you for it. Had a guy come in and lay on the floor and pay me to try to fart on his face. He was dressed like Carlton on Bourbon Street. Honestly, a lot of girls like ones like this too. They pay really well and you don't have to really do any work. Ex-stripper. I lived and worked in a border town and we would always get so many American tourists. Our strip clubs are also full nudity. Well, one douchebag with a Texas accent wanted a refund because my pussy wasn't wet enough, and didn't leave a snail trail on his lap. He also demanded a refund because he tried to slip his dick out mid-lap dance and I screamed for security. For the record, he tried to put his dick in me mid-lap dance. I make fetish clips and I've had some odd ones. Probably the grossest are the crush people. They're usually pretty polite, at least I'll get a message asking if I like crushing things. I say nothing alive and they thank me and leave. Just makes my skin crawl to think of hurting an animal to satisfy a sexual urge. Although one time, and of course this could have been fake, I had someone who asked and I said no. They ended up confessing to being ashamed of it, and we chatted for a bit. I tried to help them out and suggested therapy to help them deal with the guilt and self-hate. I still think about them sometimes, and honestly I hope the sad messages were part of a fetish I don't know about because I don't want anyone feeling that awful about themselves. I had a guy that just wanted me to spit full globs of phlegm in his mouth while laid on his back with his mouth wide open. I'm rarely grossed out, but I just can't deal with copious amounts of spit or phlegm. It took so much effort not to throw up just from seeing it slide past his tonsils. On the other end of the spectrum, I had a guy who liked to just lay on the sofa while I sat on him and watched TV. Human furniture fetish is definitely my favorite type of booking. Not really a sex worker, but I stripped for a bit in college. The amount of older guys saying things to me like "tell me your real age" or "don't worry, your little secret is safe with me" while grinning terribly was always gross. I look young, so that wasn't very pleasant. It got worse when they would try and blackmail me into actual sexual contact by saying they'd reveal my actual age. Fortunately I was 19, so could just tell them to go ahead and do it. It got worse when they would try and blackmail me into actual sexual contact by saying they'd reveal my actual age. Who would they reveal it to? Yes, officer. I had a minor strip for me. Yeah, she didn't wanna have sex, so that's why I'm reporting her. Way back in the day when I was a stripper, I was giving a dance. The room was dark and I was giving a lap dance to a usual customer. The customers were allowed to touch as long as it wasn't any no-no zone. So I was sitting on his lap, no grinding, his hands to his side, and I randomly felt warm goo hit my back. I have no idea how I didn't notice anything sticking out or how he managed to get off with no physical touch. But I was mortified. I got up, demanded my pay, and quickly ran to the bathroom. Had to have the bouncer escort him out. Yes, not a sex work, but a sexy worker. The room was dark and full of terrors. Phone worker here. I had a guy wanted me to put bodily excretions roleplay on him. I was so stumped. So I said, if you've been a bad boy, I'll piss on your face. If you've been a good boy, I'll shit in your mouth. Cue the minute-long groaning, grunting and screaming the guy did with what I could only assume was the filthiest, never-ending tsunami of spunk, followed with a thank you mistress. I logged off for the day, and did other things. I have no problem with kinks or fetishes, but he acted like he won the lottery. Looks like Mama raised a polite man. I work at a sex store. We have a guy whose kink is cleaning. So he went to the arcades, glory holes and cinema and pulled all the used condoms out of the garbage can and ate the cum in them. We also have a dude that likes to lick doorknobs and another one who smells the used paper towels. Well, I think we have a winner. Someone get the lights on the way out. Good thread, everyone. Had a guy who was high as a kite who wanted me to roleplay with him that I was his daughter and he was raping her. When it was over, he confided he'd done it before in real life. I had no idea whether he was still roleplaying or not. I went to my supervisor afterward and she said nothing we can do. Total anonymity. Quit and went to the police instead. Don't know what became of it. There's scat and other gross fetish stuff too, but that's the one that really haunts me. I'm a dancer at a topless strip club. No removing bottoms allowed. I had this guy coming to see me about once a week. He'd give me 100 to 150 every time he came in, but each time try to push the boundaries further and further. Eventually he kept trying to whip his dick out and I had to tell him no. Next time he came in, while I was turned around shaking my ass in his face, he pulled his dick out, condom already on, grabbed my hips and tried to put me onto his dick. Seriously shitty. Another one of my friends was doing a half hour with a guy and she flipped over and farted in his face. She was mortified, but he tipped her 20 at the end, so he must have enjoyed it. Literally tonight at work, a girl got fired for prostitution. She was screaming at the manager the whole time, in the middle of the room, all the customers watching her. I only gave him a hand job. I only gave him a hand job. It's not like I f***ed him. Every single girl that goes back there fucks. Not true. What's the big deal? I was just jacking him off. Shusha's been a dancer for a while. She claimed another girl told her it was okay and that's why she did it. Bullshit. You know the rules. And you got caught. It happens. I've seen girls sucking and literally 2 feet from me. I had a girl wave and smile at me as she was jacking a dude off, in full view of the camera. Lol. I had a customer who liked to wear a bonnet, suck on a pacifier, and wear a dipper under his pants. He liked to call me mommy and be spanked. And he paid well for it. I had a guy that loved the smell of sweaty ass. He would always tell me when he was coming in, always near the end of the night. So I wouldn't go to the dressing room and freshen up as much as I usually would. And he would literally give me 200 just to stand in front of him, ass cheeks apart while he smelled it. I guess the first one was the grossest. The rest of them were just weird. I have so many stories from dancing. Lol. So I was a male stripper predominantly for bachelorette parties, but about 3 times a month I'd work the actual club to make ends meet. I was 18 and finishing up high school. One night I'm there and the manager says there's a guy willing to pay $2,000 for 2 hours with me. It's a straight club but half the dancers are gay and eat that stuff up, plus with a no touching rule. It's whatever. His only stipulation was that we not turn the lights on. He didn't want to be seen. This was the early 2000s and closet cases were more reserved then. That said, I go in to dance. I dance for about 20 minutes and he says something that makes my skin crawl. Tell me you're only 15. I was disgusted, but this was money I needed. I'm not proud, but I said it, though I couldn't get over the familiarity in his voice. He continued on with stuff like that. having me say I was 15 over and over, having me say I was running late for English class, etc. He just wanted me to pretend I was a little younger than I was. Then he said it. Call me Coach Bellum. Coach Bellum was my 9th grade football coach and a fervent creep who wandered into the boys' and girls' showers during use a few too many times and got fired the year after I had him as a coach. I went to beeline for the door as soon as he said it. There's no way he didn't recognize me after all. He picked me because he knew 14 to 15-year-old me. When I clearly got up to move, he grabbed me around my waist and just licked my stomach and said, "I can give you all the money you need. Let me have this." I broke his nose, got out, and got the bouncers in there. To my knowledge, he was the first and only person we ever banned from returning there. Apparently we didn't need to though, as he got jailed just a couple months later for molestation of a family member. He was grimy.